January was packed. A few I covered in depth, and a couple I only tested. Some I've thought more about since posting. I'm Vadd, and in this video, I'm going over what I played, what stood out, and some thoughts I didn't mention when the videos first went out. To the absolute surprise of everyone, including myself, I started another run of Baldur's Gate. I worked through part of Act 1 and walked away. Can you believe that? I can barely believe it. This is maybe the fourth or fifth time I've tried to get started on Baldur's Gate 3, and I just really struggle with coming back to games after I've completed them once. There's still things I'd like to do there, but I'm just not ready to start and finish a big run after the one that we've already done. This month also saw me put some more time into the Edge of Allegoria. It's a turn-based RPG that has a lot of inspirations from what you might fondly call the golden age of handheld gaming. It definitely has its own unique charm, and I can sum it up best by saying I enjoyed my time more than I expected to. It really caught me off guard how much I enjoyed it. I wasn't really sure going in that was going to be the case. There's actually an achievement to find a unicorn, and I've done basically everything in the game except that unicorn. It's just a random chance you can find it. And not finding the unicorn means I can't get the 5th wand in a set of 5. It's really kind of like if I was an achievement hunter, I'd probably be pretty peaked, but I just don't mind that much. I think it's kind of fun that there's this completely optional side thing that at any time a unicorn could have showed up. I think it's a chance to happen at quite literally any moment, and it just didn't for me, and that was my journey. This month, we also saw the return of Grand Theft Auto 5 online. We've played that on and off over the years for a very long time. They added in a new mansion update, which I thought would be kind of fun, a new business property to own. So we dove in, tried some of the new missions and some of the new businesses, and drove some fun new stuff. You know, it's a fun little journey. Grand Theft Auto 5 online definitely has its flaws. And still, one thing they've continued to do over all the years is just continue to drip feed out that content, trickle it out, so it almost always feels like there's something new coming down the pipe that kind of catches your attention or makes a news headline and gets itself into, you know, your entertainment feed, right? It's definitely not my most favorite game. I even have a tough time trying to recommend it to people. But I'll say this much. I've enjoyed the time I've had in it. I feel like I'm in a really good place with it where everything's kind of zen for me because I kind of just have all the fun toys, which means I just kind of load in and do my own thing, and it's a little more relaxing than the come up. This January was dominated by Final Fantasy 16. It almost took me 2 full years to complete this, but it's done. Obviously, not all that time is in-game recording, but on my end, start to finish, it was about 24 months of kind of setting up, doing my research, starting my recording, editing my videos, and I gotta tell you, that game just beat me up. I didn't really appreciate how big it was going to be before I started, and I really struggled with kind of my ending thoughts over time. I think I could best summarize it just by saying that Final Fantasy 16 left me frustrated. There were so many really just brilliant moments, just really outstanding experiences in that game, and also some of the most boring, droll, just fluff of any game ever. I really felt the whole time, especially looking back, that Final Fantasy 16 was trying to be 2 different things. It thought it was a character action game, but it also thought it was going to be a Final Fantasy RPG, and I don't think it succeeded at either. I think there's better action games, and I think there's better RPGs. One thing it really nailed was some of these boss fights were an absolute spectacle. You were just fighting literal gods flying above the planets in space, shooting lasers that are gonna, destroy all of life. I mean, the scale of these fights is astounding. And like I said, it left me frustrated because the beginning chunk of the story, that opening 20%, it's a really compelling narrative. It was such a strong open for here are the main characters, here's the bad guy, here's the underdog you're rooting for, here's the mystery character. They just checked every box. Here's the cute dog we want you to fall in love with, here's the couple we hope you ship, right? Everything just kind of lined up. And you had someone who you hopefully empathized with and someone who you hopefully didn't like. And as the mysteries unraveled and you started to learn more about the world, it just was such a strong open. Then the game's like, hey, just so you know, you want to go any further forward, you're going to need to complete these side quests. Okay, technically they're optional, but there were no options in settings to turn off the side quest markers in your heads up display, which means if you don't clear the side quests, they will forever be on your map when you open it, on your screen, wherever you look, and if you were in the vicinity of the quest, there'd be a quest line on your screen saying, hey, the quest is here, and then a marker flashing in the corner. It was diabolical, which means you felt compelled, you felt forced, you felt enslaved to finishing these side quests, and most of them were pretty bad. Some of them were definitely standout side quests, but a lot of the optional side quests were like, hey, deliver this letter. And then you deliver the letter and be like, hey, we've got a problem with wolves. So you go kill 3 wolves. And they're like, hey, thanks for the wolves. Here's a mug of ale. Bring the ale back to camp. You bring the ale back, and your ale guy's like, hey, I can now plant ale seeds. And you're like, all right, but to plant the ale seeds, I need 3 leaves. So you go get the 3 leaves. And at the tree, you're like, oh, kill 3 spiders. All right, so then you delivered your 3 letters. You got your 3 seeds, you killed your 3 spiders, your 3 wolves, back to main quest, and all of a sudden you're a literal god fighting gods again. The pacing was so bad that you'd be like, this is awesome, and then you're like, oh, I have like 2 to 4 hours of side quests I probably need to trudge through. I know they're optional, but all the better loot, gear, lore is behind them, and I can't get rid of the exclamation points and green dots everywhere telling me to go do them. It was so frustrating. I wanted to love this game so much more than it wanted to be loved. And somehow Final Fantasy 16 had a very measured difficulty, and then all of a sudden in the DLC for the final boss, the Leviathan, it was like, by the way, here's this DPS check, and it doesn't matter if you lower the difficulty on it, you're gonna have to master the moves the same way. It was if you thought you could lower the difficulty to get past this DPS check, you could not. You needed to master your combos and timing of it. It was so obnoxious, and it didn't fit with the rest of the game. It would have been one thing if each boss was escalating in difficulty, but they weren't. It wasn't that type of game. This isn't a Souls game. Not everything needs to be the Dark Souls of whatever combat system they're trying to implement. The truth is, the bosses all had about the same level of difficulty, and that was okay. That's kind of what you signed up for in an action game. Yes, they got more flashy, a little more tricky, but nothing too wild, and that was all right. And for some reason, one random boss was like, by the way, DPS check, don't mess up. Oh, okay. Why would you do this? There were so many design choices that it almost felt like there were 2 different directors making decisions and they don't talk to each other. And then they just put it together and said, here's a completed game. And it's a good game, but it's not as good as it should have been. It's not as good as it could have been. It's not as good as I want. And maybe that's the real things. A quick thank you here to the people supporting the work on Patreon. If you enjoy these videos and want to support directly, I have a single pay what you want Patreon linked below. Thank you.